You know what's strange about hospitals at night? They never really sleep. Even when the halls are empty, there's always some faint sound somewhere. A monitor beeping, a door sighing shut, a wheel squeaking in the dark. Hospitals breathe, and sometimes they remember. Grace knew that better than anyone. She'd worked night shifts at St. Agatha's for 8 years, geriatrics wing, end of the hall, where the lights were always a little dimmer and the air smelled faintly of bleach and age. Most of the nurses hated it. Grace didn't mind. The patients were quiet, and death, when it came, was never loud. That night, the rain was whispering against the windows, and the fluorescent lights hummed like lazy insects. The coffee in the break room was burnt again. Everything was normal until 2:17 a.m. That was when she heard it. A tapping, soft, deliberate, just at the edge of hearing. Tick, tick, tick. It was coming from down the corridor, room 313. That room had been empty for weeks. Grace hesitated outside the door. The small window was dark, the curtains drawn. She told herself it was the rain, or maybe a loose vent, but when she stepped closer, the sound stopped instantly. Her reflection stared back at her in the glass, pale skin, tired eyes, mask hanging loose at her neck. Nothing unusual. She shook her head, muttered something about nerves, and walked away. An hour later, it started again. Tick, tick, tick. Same rhythm, same spot. She checked the chart. 313. Unoccupied. No maintenance, no cleaning scheduled. Still, she went in. Because that's what you do. The room was cold, colder than the rest of the floor. Her breath fogged slightly in the air. The blinds were half open, showing nothing but rain crawling down the glass. Everything was still, except for the chair beside the bed. It was rocking, slowly, back and forth, as if someone had just stood up. Grace froze. The air smelled faintly metallic like old coins. She reached out and steadied the chair. It stopped. The silence that followed was thick, like the room itself was holding its breath. She turned to leave and noticed the patient chart still clipped to the bed. It shouldn't have been there. She'd cleared them all after discharge. Name, Henry Gallagher. She remembered him. Quiet man. Died peacefully 3 weeks ago. At least, that's what they'd said. But she'd been there when it happened, and just before he slipped away, he'd whispered something strange. "Don't let me hear it again." At the time, she thought it was nonsense. Now, standing in the freezing dark of 313, those words crawled back into her mind. The tapping started again, right behind her. She spun around. Nothing. Just the chair still, the window dark, the rain whispering. She backed out slowly and shut the door. Didn't call anyone. Didn't write it down. Just told herself she was tired, that the mind plays tricks at night. At 4:06 a.m., the heart monitor in room 309 started screaming. She ran. The patient, an old man, was awake and trembling, eyes fixed on the ceiling. When she reached him, he was whispering something over and over. The tapping, the tapping. Tell him to stop. There was no him, no one in 313. No footsteps in the corridor, just that faint, patient tick, 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 drifting through the air vents. Grace requested a transfer the next morning. They granted it. But sometimes, when she works a late shift in another building, far from geriatrics, she still hears it. Not every night. Only when it rains. Only after 2 a.m. And when she does, she whispers, without even knowing why. Don't let me hear it again.